Okay, welcome to the 12th video in this series. This one's going to be mostly about getting the roll cage built. Now, neither Keaton nor I had ever built a roll cage before. Let's stop for a second and thank Rick Barnes for bringing stuff that we needed. He brought a bunch of fuel lines and fittings, and then he built this straw that you this is a straw. The theme for the car is Capri Sun, since it's a Mercury Capri, and we wanted to bolt this straw to the top as decoration, and then we're going to have graphics on it for Capri Sun that Klein was working on. Now that's part of the Lemons 24-hour Lemons, is that each team needs to have a theme for the car. So that's kind of what Rick is helping us with while we're doing roll cage building. And as I was saying, neither Keaton or I have much experience here, but Keaton bought a really good program. I should have the name of it here. If I get it from Keaton, I'll link it in the description. But this program would, you'd give it the measurements of the bar the cage you want to build, and it would provide the angles for each bend and the profiles that you needed to shape each end of the tube so that you could weld together these pieces of roll cage when a straight end of the tube has to meet at a radius part of the tube. This would give you the right profile. So without that program, it would have been a lot of work, a lot more work. As it was, we did a lot of measuring multiple times and actually cutting multiple times. We would end up sneaking up on the measurement and grinding in this profile probably 2 or 3 times because we just were scared about making the bar too short. We only had so many feet of roll cage bar to work with, and not a lot of spare, or at least we didn't think we'd have a lot of spare. As it worked out, because we were careful, very few mistakes were made, and we ended up with plenty of extra. But you'll see in these videos that we do a lot of back and forth and fitting, and we've sped it up drastically for these, this shuffle back and forth. We're doing a lot of grinding and cutting, and there aren't a lot of close-up shots of the actual welding because it's less a how-to video and more of a a record of how of what we did in this build. So we are building, or we're welding in these reinforcing plates that go on the bottom of each one of the roll cage bars where it meets the body. You have these reinforcing plates to make sure that if the car were actually to roll over, that tube wouldn't punch through the bottom of the car. Now Keaton's getting initial tack welding done, or it's a little more than tack welding here, but he's welding up the places he can reach on this on the roll cage. And I got to say that the roll cage passed inspection with flying colors. Keaton did a really good job. And then we basically drill holes in the floor of the car and then use these ratchet straps to pull in the bottom part of the cage just an inch or so it'll drop down and into the holes that we've drilled, and that opens up, or that gives us space up at the top of the bar so that Keaton can do the welding that needs to happen up top. So you can see here how much lower it is, how much it drops down, which again gives Keaton space to weld. We're using the cardboard to protect the windshield from splatter, and then while we got it down low, I went ahead and painted it so we could get the top of the bar. Keaton's finishing up some of these reinforcing plates. These for the main hoop are mounted on one of the main cross members, one of the main structural cross members of the car, all to make for a stronger roll cage. And then he's also welding up the plates up front, and I should say in some of these clips, you're going to see the car itself move up and down on the quick jacks. The reason we're doing that, I'm making cuts for the fuel tank here. But the reason we're moving the car up and down on the quick jacks is that the rocker panels were so rusted that the car door, the driver's side would shut well when it was down on the ground, and the passenger side would not shut well. And when it was up on the jacks, the passenger side would shut well, and the driver's side wouldn't shut well. And so we would, when we were welding up this roll cage, we don't want to weld in a twist into the car. So depending on which side of the cage we're working on, we would have it down off the quick jack or up on the quick jack to make sure that we took the twist out of the car, and the doors would shut nicely. We did the same when we were repairing the rocker panels, but that's not until the very end of the videos here. So here again, a lot of welding, getting the base plates in, and then we're kind of pushing we've used the ratchet straps to pull in the bar, and now we're using 2x4s to kind of hold the bar back out and hold it in place while we're welding it back down. It snapped back almost to where we wanted it. We don't have a lot of pressure on the 2x4s. In fact, you'll see that we stopped trying to do both 2x4s and just do one at a time instead. It was just simpler than trying to work around both 2x4s. But this way we were able to just push it back where it needed to be for the base weld. And again, it wasn't like we had to push it far, but we did have to move it a little bit to get it exactly where we wanted. Now we're working on these sidebars. I'm double checking the height we're going to place them. Will it give us room to get in and out of the car with the steering wheel in? Then you'll see both Keaton and I, again, we're sneaking up at the measurement. We're going and grinding a little bit off each time just to make sure we have snug fits. Now I've moved back to getting this fuel tank ready. We've got to build a little support bracketry to hold the tank and keep it safe. And Keaton's continuing welding. We again have gone back to the ratchet straps to pull the cage in towards each other, or each side in towards each other, so he's got room to do the welding up to the front on these side beams. And then we're getting it finally put back onto its, welding it down onto the backing plates on the floor. And then Keaton's getting measurements for the rear 45-degree supports. He's got a laser and the level there, and between the two he's getting the measurements needed to put into the computer program and get the bar length and profiles to cut. Again, we've sped it up quite a bit through a lot of this, and then here I am ready to drop that fuel tank in. I just have to trim some of these support pieces. We got this fuel cell through the Lemons website, and it was a little bit of money, but it doesn't count against your $500 total, and the original fuel tank in the Capri just wasn't going to do the job. Because we were running fuel injection, we would have had to figure out how to plumb a return line to the original fuel tank, and there was some rust in it to deal with, so it was just better to get a fuel cell, safer and more efficient for everything we were doing. So now I'm just drilling the holes to bolt that through. I'm going through the frame of the car down underneath, not just through the body of not just through the sheet metal of the trunk. So and then here we've got these 45-degree supports on the back. Keaton's getting those tack welded in. You'll also see him, we had some parts of the floor up front that were thin from rust, and we decided to reinforce those before we started running wiring, because a main part of the wiring is going to go right there in the passenger well. Oh, here you see Elizabeth, Keaton's wife, has come over to give us a hand. We appreciate her help and her patience while I had Keaton here for most of his evenings as we got into August and had to get the car. Had a long way to go still to get the car done for the race in September, first week of September. So actually the race was the 10th of September, but we had to be over there by like the 7th. Here we're putting the seat in so we can get measurements for the seat support. You've got to have a seat, so if the car gets hit by the rear, the seat doesn't get folded back. The other thing you need is a bar to support the 5-point safety harness, so that's part of what Keaton's working on. Now I'm getting the wiring harness out, and this will be we're at the end of this video now. I'm getting the wiring harness out and kind of tagging and bagging things up so I can start putting it in. And next video here will be coming right up. I'm going to try and knock out a few of these real quick. We're after the race at this point. We did make it to the race. More to come here soon. If you enjoyed it, please hit the like button. And thanks for watching. More to come.